What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Weapons Podcast. My name is Leo. This is a show where we talk to people who are or have been in the military and I get a chance to hear their military story. Today, we are here with two very seasoned vets we are talking to Dan and Roger from the Tracer Burnout show, and I am so happy to have them here. We're going to be talking about a litany of topics that some of them just kind of like boil my chili a little bit, but we're going to get to the bottom of these. Dan and Roger, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
Yeah, thanks for having us on, brother. Dan, you hear that?
Yeah, that's another word for salty.
It's right here.
Seasoned, salty. It could also be sweet, but nobody wants to be sweet nowadays.
Nobody comes for the sweet. No.
Give us a quick introduction, just why you guys are seasoned, what you guys know, a little bit about yourselves.
I'm Dan. I did 23 years and a little bit of change in the Army. Active all the way, infantry, which means I did a little bit of everything from being an M60 gunner in the early days,
the pig,
to OC and drill sergeant and everything under the sun. I did it all, as the infantry is wont to do.
That's what I'm talking about.
Not necessarily well, but
he did.
Infantry is good at everything.
It's good enough.
Nothing.
That's right. All right. I'm Roger. I served 20 years and 1 month. I retired about 15 months ago, so I'm still relatively new to the civilian life, and it's interesting to say the least. Dan and I were buddies growing up, Army brats, mostly here in the Fayetteville Fort Bragg area. Our dads would PCS and come back and PCS and come back, and we lived in the same neighborhood, so we just kind of stayed friends all those years. We stayed friends all the years we were in the Army. We were only stationed together once, never in the same unit, and then around the time I was getting ready to retire, Dan said, "Hey, let's start a podcast." And I said, "That's an awesome idea." And here we are.
That's what I'm talking about, man. And I mean, I don't know about you guys. Obviously, you guys have been friends for a long time throughout your careers, but
Too long. Yeah.
you don't see that happen too often. You don't really see too many other vets, saying, "Oh yeah, my buddy Adam that I've known since I enlisted," or like you have onesies and twosies, but there's not a lot out there. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And I think your friendship and your relationship is beautiful. It makes me want to.
We have a beautiful relationship, Raj.
It's seasoned.
You got to put that Mrs. Dash on there. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. So you got the salt and pepper here with a little bit of ginger too. Don't tell anybody.
All right, let's get into it, man. So there's a couple topics that I really wanted to talk about, mainly because I have strong opinions of these topics, and also I wanted to get your guys' opinion on these. And the first couple topics that we're going to talk about is surrounding the realm of DFACs. Now, I have a fucking beef with DFACs because when I was in the was going to the fucking DFAC, first BCT DFAC, and every time I wanted to get more than, I don't know, 3 boiled eggs, they're like, you can only get 3. I'm like, no, I want more. And they're like, no, you can only get like 2 or 3. And sometimes it was like 1 and that was it. And they're like, you have to sit back down. And things got better when they're like, you got to sit back down, come back in line, and then get some more. So I'm like, cool, got it. At some point, it got to the point where I was just so pissed off that they were giving me such little food that I just grabbed, on several occasions, I grabbed the tray with all the cups and the bowls and shit, and I just took it to my room. I'm like, fuck this, dude. I'm paying for it. I'm keeping this shit. Right. So DFACs, a little pissed off, but there are some good DFACs, there's some bad DFACs, but DFACs.
I know the general, 1st Brigade DFAC. I know it well. It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time for me. But once I saw that, oh my God, I'm not gonna lie to you. Once I just kind of like went into the SWIC DFAC, it was like an eye-opening experience. It was like I was a virgin. Huh?
The new one?
The one on Ardennes.
Yeah, but there's a new. The SWIC has a new one. I mean, it's on Ardennes. When I say no, I mean in the last 5 years, of course. But
probably not. No, because this would have been, I don't know, 2021. Probably. It's the one right next to the schoolhouse, or right next to is it? No, it's not Gavin Hall, is it?
It's Bank Hall.
Bank Hall, yeah, the one right next to that one.
They remodeled it a few years ago, but we're old, so when we say it was recent, that could have been 6 years ago.
It could have been a little bit longer. Once I got into that defect, I was like, "Can I get 6 boiled eggs?" And they're like, "Yes, this is your world, man. Fucking take it." And I was like, "What?" It was insane, and I was like, "They don't do this everywhere. I just want to let you guys know this is awesome." And so, the reason why I wanted to talk about defects is because the Army's doing a couple organizational remodeling to the way DFACs operate. And the first thing, which sounds pretty nice, is beer and wine at DFACs. The Army is going to start introducing beer and wine at some DFACs, which sounds great. I don't think it's as great as the higher ups might think it seems. I don't know. What about you guys?
I think that is a terrible idea. I'm a man who enjoys an adult beverage or two.
Shout out.
I think it is. I would enjoy going to the DFAC and having a beverage. The problem is that a lot of people can't handle that. The military already has a very heavy drinking culture that in turn lasts a lifetime. I think introducing that option just broadly available at DFACs is a terrible idea. One, it encourages that culture. Two, young soldiers can't handle that stuff. That they absolutely can't. And I mean, what are we doing? Turning the DFAC into a bar?
That'd be sweet though. If we had more bars instead of DFACs, I'm not gonna lie, that would be packed.
I think that is a disaster in the making. That's how I feel about it. And this is coming from somebody that drinks.
Could see. So, see, there's the thing. I could see that, but normally what the Army does is introduces something fun, and it finds every way to make it not fun.
Well,
right?
I'm sure that what they'll do is they'll have a limit.
100%.
When I joined the Army, there was the 2-beer lunch rule. No more than 2 beers over lunch.
No more. I thought it was no less.
That was the reality.
I won't say that, but I'm sure that they will have a. I'm sure that they will have a limit.
Baby.
I'm sure that they will have a limit. No more than 2 beers. Some people cannot handle 2 beers, and for every 1,000 soldiers that can handle it, that one soldier that can't handle it will ruin it for everybody else. That's just the way it works.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how they handle that. And I never really thought about it. I really never really thought about it that way in the terms of like there's just gonna be one person that can't handle 2 beers, which is for me it's insane to think that somebody just can't handle 2 beers. It might just be me. I might just been drinking too long. I just think 2 beers. It's insane you can't handle 2 beers, but they will definitely put like a 2 beer limit maybe.
Yeah,
and
but then what happens? Then what happens is a soldier's poor decisions get linked back to him having 2 beers with dinner at the DFAC. He goes out and he gets a DUI at 3:00 in the morning, technically the next day. Well, how did this happen? Well, I started with a couple of beers at dinner at the DFAC, and then I went back to the barracks, and then I had a couple more beers and a few shots of whiskey, and then we went out to the bar. And it's all going to get traced back to those original beers that the Army provided that soldier at the DFAC. Now, here's another wrinkle that I think that a lot of people haven't thought about is that there will be options, right? Because it's not going to be, brand X beer, right? So the Army will sign a deal or the military will sign a deal for Anheuser-Busch products to be the sole beer products sold within the dining facilities. So the Army is getting paid to reinforce drinking culture within the Army by a corporate sponsor. That's ethically questionable to me.
I mean, if we're talking about ethically questionable, I mean, the Army just what did they do? They just swore in a couple months ago those like 4 top AI executives.
Yeah.
Into the reserves in order to I can't remember what the article said, but it was like somewhere in their contracts. It was like these people will make the ethical decisions to make sure that their jobs do not conflict with any contracts that come in the Army. Obviously, because government workers never do anything bad, right? They never actually do anything that'll benefit themselves.
There's 500 some elected representatives that we all voted for that are sitting there that never make any ethically questionable decisions.
Yeah, no, they never make any ethically questionable decisions, right? No, obviously. Why would? Obviously not. But I do think that you're right that it is going to go to a contract, and the government is known for choosing the contract with the best quality products. Am I right? I'm not going to lie, dude. I will not be surprised if at some point, if this does go through, I would not be surprised if at some point we start seeing like Natty Ice or Natty Light and like Steel Reserve in DFACs.
Hey, what's wrong with Steel Reserve?
Listen,
it'll be those little hand grenades of Mickey's malt liquor. Yeah, I'm sorry, fine malt liquor.
Yeah, if they start putting buzz balls and shit in there, listen, I'm not saying a Steel Reserve is bad. All I'm saying is, I don't know. When I was 20, I'm just gonna say 21 to not.
We'll go with 21.
Yeah, I was 21, fucking years ago, and I don't know, like a 12-pack of Steel Reserve was like, I don't know, $6. Questionable decisions there, but it was cheap and it was beer.
In the words of Ronald Reagan, mistakes were made.
Mistakes were made.
I agree with Dan on pretty much every point. I do want to add one thing to it, though, and that's I could see in some scenarios where there are overseas postings where you're pretty much confined to a base for security reasons and things like that. I could think of a few scenarios where it would be acceptable for soldiers to be able to get a couple beers at a dining facility because there's nothing else they can do to go off the base or off post or whatever. But other than that, yeah, I don't think that Uncle Sam should be a pusher on these things. If you want booze, go pay for it yourself somewhere else.
Yeah. One, it's not going to, I mean, one, it's going to lead to bad decisions. Normally, I mean, alcohol normally does lead to bad decisions, but unforgettable nights and nights that you just can't remember, which is great. But I don't think it's going to be the best product that you're going to drink. You're not going to be like, this is the best beer I've ever drank. You're going to drink 2 of them. You're going to be like, how am I hammered already? I think it's going to be one of those. And if it's wine, if it's wine, it's probably going to be that box wine.
Franzia. Make it a Franzia night. I had a roommate in college who would buy the box wine, and when we go out to big block parties and stuff like that. I went to a party school. I went to the Harvard of Eastern North Carolina, also known as East Carolina University. And anyway, he would buy a box of Franzia wine and just walk around with that while everybody else is drinking cheap keg beer. And so we all just called him Franz.
Listen, what I mean, in my younger days of partying and going to random house parties, I would always do something that I would get made fun of mercilessly for this. Before I would go anywhere, I'd go to Walmart. And back then, Walmart had these. They still have those the sandwiches. They're like subs.
Yeah.
Now I think they're like $7. I would buy one and I would just carry it around with me in every fucking house party. And then everybody would make fun of me for that. Everybody make fun of me because why the fuck do you have a sandwich? You fucking loser. That's stupid. But then when everybody's wasted and everybody's trying to sober up, who's over here looking like the king of England just with my fucking sandwich, just eating and like, oh, look who's ready to suck dick for a bite of a sandwich. You know what I'm saying?
Who's laughing now?
Another thing that DFACs are starting to incorporate is one thing that I don't really agree with is freedom dollars. Pretty much instead of letting you get whatever you want at DFACs because the Army takes money from you in order to power those DFACs, they're giving you they're letting you spend a certain amount a month at DFACs, and they're calling them freedom dollars, kind of like the PX tokens, I guess you could say.
So it's like a prepaid.
I don't know if it's like a prepaid card. I don't know if it's like a prepaid card, but it's just instead of them taking that amount out of your paycheck, if you're a single soldier, instead of them taking that amount out of your paycheck, they're just saying when you scan your CAC, I'm assuming it would be like an Air Force DFAC, like you get all your food. And then at the end, they like scan everything. You scan your CAC card and you're like, oh, you don't have any money left to buy this food. Don't agree with that. I think it should just, I think DFACs, I mean, it's anything to just, instead of just paying.
My understanding on this, and they started this a couple weeks ago at one DFAC on Fort Hood, and they plan to expand it to pretty much the 18th Airborne Corps. My understanding is that each soldier gets about $40 a day to eat at the DFAC. The DFAC will not close. It will be open from, I think it's 6 a.m. to 8 p.m.
They're doing
so
like the
no more
thing,
worrying,
right?
more worrying about I can't go to the DFAC because we got out of PT late, or we got back from training. We got back from the range at 18:30. Well, you can still go to the DFAC and eat. So it'll be open for longer. You have something like $40 a day to spend, and that will be taken out of your pay, that $40 or whatever you use on your card. I think the idea is interesting because I lived in the barracks as a young soldier, as all young soldiers do. Never went to the DFAC except on the weekend when there wasn't training, because we never got out of PT on time. We were never released for lunch on time, and we certainly weren't released for dinner on time. I mean, each guy got like a case of MREs thrown into his room like once a month for you to eat because you were going to miss meals.
Oh shit.
I do not know if there's going to be a cap on how much you can spend per meal, or what happens if you go over it. I imagine that if you go over it and you can't use your card anymore because you spent the $40, I imagine you just pay just like everybody else with cash. I think encouraging the soldiers to go to the DFAC versus going to the shopette down the road and just getting a bunch of tornadoes and monsters, I think that is a good idea.
Or go to the Charlie subs in the food court at the PX.
In the PX.
Yeah. I mean, especially for breakfast, one, it is the most important meal of the day. And two, it's the one meal you can always count on at every single DFAC. It's going to be
It's pretty
decent
consistent.
or good.
I do like the idea, and now that you bring it up, I do like the idea of DFACs being open pretty much the whole time, right? Because I mean, when I was brand new to the army and I was in my unit, my first squad leader told me that, like, whenever you have a hard time, you got to be there 15 minutes early. And I was like, got it. And he's like, but if you're there 15 minutes early, that means you're late. And if you're in my squad, you got to be there 15 minutes earlier than that. And I'm like, so I gotta be everywhere 30 minutes earlier? And he was like, yeah, and you gotta be there before me. So I'm gonna get there 15 minutes before that. And I'm like, I gotta be everywhere 45 minutes prior to the fucking start time.
Makes sense.
And he was like, yeah. And I'm like, fucking all right.
Yeah, 10
cool.
minutes prior to the 10 minutes prior to the 10 minutes prior. Yeah.
Oh yeah. But it was not only was it to like formations, it was for work.
Everything.
So if work was 09, fucking be there almost at 8. And I'm like, all right. And if we finish PT at 8, you're already late. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm just gonna grab a banana and shit or something. It is interesting to see how the whole payment like the whole payment process is going to happen, is going to roll out. I don't think it's going to be very effective unless, I mean, I don't know. What can you do to make DFACs?
I don't know how long they're going to run it before they expand it. Allowing soldiers more time to get into the DFAC, keeping the DFAC open, I think that alone is worth it. I am interested to see how they work out the pay. I mean, soldiers get ripped off on enough stuff. We don't need to get ripped. And I mean, we've been getting ripped off with meal cards for, when did they start the meal cards? So
the longest time, dude. It's so bad.
I'm interested to see how it turns out, because of course they'll do the feedback. How long were the wait lines? Was the quality of the chow consistent for every meal? Service. They'll do all the feedback loop, but I'm gonna keep an eye on it and see how it turns out. I have no doubt that they'll, even if the reviews are bad, I have no doubt that they'll expand it to the 18th Airborne Corps anyway, because it's the Corps. So why not? Well,
let's experiment on them.
If it fails everywhere else, the Corps will try it.
18th Airborne Corps. If it fails everywhere
else, if we can't make it work,
it'll work here.
82nd is used to doing everything the hardest way imaginable. So I mean, they're kind of used to it.
Isn't that kind of like the saying? If there's an easier way to do it, we'll make it hard.
Yeah, that's certainly the way it was at 10th Mountain.
Oh man, that's how it was in 82nd. It was just, oh, we need to do something. Let's do it in the stupidest way possible. I remember at some point, I mean, we all love clean sweep. We all remember clean sweep, right?
Love it. Yes. Yeah, we'll go with that.
Don't you just love clean sweep? I remember at some point there was the rumor was that like a general's wife was driving down, what's that one street next to our dens?
Well, there's Gruber. If it runs parallel, it's Gruber. Yeah.
It's where BLC's at.
Oh, that's Butner and that's Long Street and Butner area down there. Yeah.
Yeah. So Butner, some lady was driving down Butner, and I guess clean sweep was happening or was about to happen. And I guess the general's wife was like, there's too many leaves on the ground. Like she just mentioned it to her husband. And the rumor was that happened. And the next day the general was like, we need to staple these fucking leaves back on the trees, which is absolutely insane.
That's got to be a joke.
It's apocryphal, but it still sounds about right, doesn't it? I mean,
it sounds crazy, and you're like, that's gotta be a joke.
Yeah,
that's gotta be a joke. But if it happened anywhere else besides the 82nd, I'd be on the same page. I'm like, there's no fucking way that's true. Just because it's the 82nd, I'd be like, you know what? That actually does sound like a true story. Don't fact check.
You're gonna walk away from that saying, I don't know, that does kind of sound like it.
It sounds too crazy to be true, but if it's the 82nd, and you're like, no, that sounds like something that they would do. That sounds like something that they would do. On the top, while we're on the topic of DFACs, one thing that I thought was really interesting is that the Army is rolling out an autonomous DFAC. So basically, the food's going to be prepared by robots. The whole system's going to be autonomous, and the checkout system's going to be autonomous. I don't know how I feel about that. How do you guys feel about that?
I mean, that does seem to be the way that most things are going. I think losing the human touch on most things is a bad idea. That doesn't mean I'm against automation in all things, but that human connection is important. Seeing that cook or that employee every single morning, you start to know each other. I don't know. I think people are important. That's why I'm a Luddite on some of these things.
Yeah, human connection is definitely going to be missed.
Yeah,
I would much rather have a person tell me that I can't have 6 boiled eggs than a computer.
Then than a Terminator. Yes, agreed.
The way I understood it is it's pretty much like a robot defect. It's weird. I don't know how that's going to play out. Again, the government just gets the best quality equipment. Shout out to Skillcraft.
Quality blind made products. That deflection fan that you're using to calculate your artillery solution, made by a blind guy. Don't ever forget it.
Now I don't have anything about against blind people. I love it. I just don't. I personally I don't think I trust an organization that hires blind people to manufacture my toilet paper. That's just me. That is just me.
That's my biggest gripe with Skillcraft. I can get over the busted protractors and the pens that don't ever work right and all the other stuff. But how is it that the two-ply toilet paper just can't stay two-ply?
I don't even think Skillcraft is two-ply. I think it's one-ply.
Is it?
I'm pretty sure because you got to use half the roll just for one good pass.
Yeah, it's not single ply for me. He said pass.
For like
on the first strafing run. We're doing poop jokes. That didn't take long. Okay.
Dude, if we're doing poop jokes, I'll touch on this subject real quick. Are you guys surface shitters?
What?
I'm sorry.
The look
I don't understand the question.
Do you know what a surface shitter is?
Obviously not.
Do you dig a hole for it?
If I'm
when
in
you're
the
woods, in the field, do you bury it? Is what he's asking.
If you're in the field, do you bury it, or you just like I'm getting out of here?
No, you bury it.
Roger.
I'm still laughing at Dan. I'm definitely a Barry guy.
Damn.
Roger means that his RTO was a Barry guy.
I feel very called out. I am a surface shitter. I have been known to just leave it out.
Do you at least plant the flag on top so that people can identify it?
No. What am I going to do? Leave my ruck behind? No.
The toilet paper.
It means the teepee. Do you leave a white flag on top?
Toilet paper on top so that people can see it and avoid the landmine.
I think if you're walking around a very secluded area where there's not a walking trail and you're not doing land nav and you step in shit, be more careful. You should have seen those wet wipes.
You are a garbage human being.
I will not dispute that. I'm not going to lie to you. I agree with you on that.
He said, Dan, he said he left the wet wipes. That's as good as you're going to get.
Wipes. I didn't leave the wet wipes on top. I left a trail of wet wipes. I don't know. Let's just say 20 feet away from the objective. If you didn't see the trail
outside
of wet wipes,
outside.
Yeah, if you didn't see that trail of wet wipes, like a whole ass arrow being like an SOS message on the beach with rocks, just like, hey, there's something here you should probably avoid, and you step directly in it, you were meant to step in it.
Everybody that has ever been an OC hates you right now.
Should have gone to Pathfinder school.
Listen, sometimes you don't have your E-tool, man. Sometimes it's rough. I don't know how we got here, but this is
we're basically children. I mean, once you realize that, it makes it all more sense,
We don't really grow up. We just the jokes just get dumber.
How do you go from 0 to poop jokes in less than 30 minutes?
Yeah, I can't even see the clock. It's too far. I can't see.
Too much tequila.
Oh, man. All right. So moving forward with one of the topics that I think is very interesting. I think it's going to be very interesting how at least the Army structures this one is retention bonuses tied to PT scores and job performance. I don't know how. I think the job performance, based on your OER, NCOER, I think that's going to mess a lot of people up because there's a lot of times where, your rater, your senior rater tells you, hey, you were going to get an MQ, but this person or this other person is on the OML, higher up on the OML. They need this more than you, right? Or you have a senior rater, you have a rater or a senior rater that just frankly just doesn't like you, and they're like, yeah, I'm just not going to give you an MQ, and you're like, why?
I
don't like your stupid fucking face. And you're like, well, I think the job performance is definitely on paper. It sounds great. It sounds like a good neutral way to put it. I don't think that's going to be very effective, but I do think the PT score will motivate a lot of people.
Yeah. I think that the PT score will be honestly easier to manage and easier to apply.
Yeah. What's objective?
because it's pretty straightforward across the board. It's not like the APFT where you had the same grader for all the events, where maybe that grader could affect you. The job performance is tough for the reasons that you mentioned. What if you have a supervisor who doesn't like you? But I mean, honestly, what if all your soldiers are turds? As a young team leader, I actually did have like 3 of the worst soldiers in the company in my fire team.
Oh God.
Yeah.
How was that?
And I mean, it was recognized
Oh,
that they were that bad.
Dan, it was a leadership challenge.
It certainly was. And I went down with a heat injury in a brigade live fire exercise, and they were like, maybe we should do something about this. So they took one of the guys and put him into a different squad.
Well, that's the thing. If you just got dudes that are turds, that makes sense. I mean, it's very obvious to see. And if you try to give a guy a top block who's obviously just a bag of dicks, then there's going to be some friction on that, right? First sergeant commander's gonna be like, "Are you fucking sure about this guy? He shot 3 people last year, and you want to give him an MQ? All right, there's going to be different things about that.
But
I don't know.
With that as well, you're also opening the door for a lot of trouble with, oh, well, I wasn't eligible for this bonus because I got a bad rating because my squad leader's racist, or I wouldn't sleep with my platoon sergeant, so he gave me a bad rating and now I can't get a bonus. You're opening the door for that. Yeah. I'm not saying that would be widespread, but we all know that there are people who will try to take advantage of that.
Yeah, 100%. There's going to be the whole he's racist, she's racist, he's sexist, whatever it is. There's just going to be an EO complaint everywhere.
Yeah, I like the idea of it. I really do. Maybe there are some standardized measures that could be put out across the board to kind of manage those issues, but you're never going to get rid of all of them. I think that the PT is definitely something immediately applicable to pretty much everybody.
I mean, to be devil's advocate, though, when you're running a large organization, you don't always want there to be a heckler's veto, meaning here's a really good idea that could help a lot of people if employed properly, but we're not going to do it because there's 0.05% of the population are scumbags. You know what? They don't get to determine what goes on in this organization. So it's all in the application.
Yeah. I do agree. I do agree with what you're saying. It's all in the application. I will say again, it is a good idea on paper. The execution is going to be interesting. Dan, I do agree with the, if it was just the PT score based, if the retention bonus was just based on the PT score, obviously you run into some ethical dilemmas of like, hey, I'm up for re-enlistment, just fucking, hook me up, shave a couple seconds off my sprint dry carry, shave a couple seconds off my 2-mile run and all that stuff, get into some backdoor deals, which,
one way to kind of open that up is not to necessarily have the entirety of your bonus of, your reenlistment bonus based on those things. Your reenlistment bonus is 10 grand, whatever it is. If your PT score is, in the top 70%, then, maybe you're entitled to 10% more.
Oh, okay.
If you have, whatever the job performance measures are, then you're entitled to another 10%. I think there's different ways to incentivize it versus making it entirely based on that.
I think it's a good initiative. Do you think, the retention bonuses, I don't think they should have changed it or tried to mess with it at all. I mean, it sucks that some retention bonuses for certain MOSs are higher, but certain MOSs, like, it wouldn't make sense for an SF dude to get the same bonus as, I don't know, like an E4 water technician or water supply specialist or something like that.
Sure. In the Army now, the water purification specialist.
Yeah.
We're the beneficiaries.
Well, maybe
it's a weird MOS, but it exists.
Maybe that's one way to do it, though, is for those specialty fields that are not eligible for a reenlistment bonus because, their field is overplussed or whatever, make a $1,000 retention bonus if your PT score is in the top 70% or your job performance
for those
measures
MOSs
or whatever.
That are overmanned.
So that now every MOS is at least eligible for a bonus.
See, I like that.
It might not be huge, but it's something.
See, we're solving the Army's problems here, man. I don't know about you, but we're solving the Army's problems. We're figuring it out. We're getting shit done. I do like
it's the DFAC tequila talking.
Listen, they put tequila in DFACs. I'm going back in, dude. You're gonna see
I'm going in.
DFAC. You're gonna see me at a DFAC.
That's going to be some real bad choices. Yeah. Yep.
Speaking of alcohol and tequila, I'm just going to throw this one in there. Since we got a little bit of time, I'm just going to throw this one in there. Don't love how you can't throw beers at the boys on the run.
All American Week?
On All American Week. Don't like that. Don't like that you can't throw beers at the boys.
Yeah, it was happening anyway.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I was doing it. But, you know, don't like that the MPs are like, you can't give these to you can't throw these. I'm like, what do you fucking mean, dude? It's fucking stupid.
I thought this was America.
I thought this was America. That's the point of the run on All American Week is to do a shitty run that everybody hates, but there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and that light is beer. And you know what? I'll fucking do it again this year. I threw beers at the boys last year, and I'm probably gonna do it again. Did it already happen? It didn't already happen, right? No.
It's 3rd week of May.
Yeah.
You're going to see me out there.
From what I heard.
You're going to see me out there throwing beers. I ran out of beers and water, and so I started just giving out Zins. I just stuck my hand out, and I was like, take one. And dudes were like, fuck yeah. I was like, all right.
Bet you won't do it.
Oh, man.
Bet you won't.
Challenge.
You know what? I'll do it if you do it.
Oh, man.
I never served in the 82nd, so I don't give a damn.
That doesn't matter. You still got to throw beers to the boys.
I don't know them anything.
Oh man, that's always been a great tradition. Just to throw beers at the boys, just have some beers while you're running, and just to have your platoon sergeant be like, "Don't fucking drink that," and you're like, "It's already gone. I already passed it down. Too late. It's already gone."
I'll go out there and watch you do it, and watch the MPs try to chase you around.
Listen, I got chased by a dog like 2 weeks ago on my morning walk, and I got chased like 2 blocks, and I had to I couldn't move for about 3 days. All right, I'm not running anywhere. What beer? What's beer? What the fuck is that? So I want to talk something about that we talked about last time. I don't think we recorded, but I have very strong feelings about this, and it is the evolution of the APFT, which I'm told it's the APFT now, not the ACFT. Oh. It's back to APFT. I do think that the push-ups and sit-ups sucked. I hated it. I didn't like seeing somebody's balls when I was holding their feet for the sit-ups.
None of us believe you.
That I didn't see it or that I didn't like it.
They didn't like it.
Well, you know what I'm saying. You can't.
The bat wing, yeah.
I was holding it up for them.
Yeah, I mean.
But I didn't like that part of it. It sucked. But I do think they had something good with the ACFT, and they fucked it up by getting rid of the leg tuck.
Yeah.
That is a huge point of contention of mine. I fucking loved the leg tuck. So maybe I wouldn't have gotten hurt. You know, maybe I wouldn't have gotten hurt from that airborne operation. I don't know. But if that leg tuck was still in, my career might have been still in the works. I don't know. I'm not a fortune teller, but I did love the leg tuck. And I will go ahead and say this: the ball throw can suck a lemon.
Yeah.
I hate the ball throw. I think it's stupid. I don't like the plank. I think it's pointless.
The plank would have been fine for me had that been introduced at the beginning of my career, but it came in at the end. And I don't know, like most of us, my L5 and below is pretty much gravel at this point. Holding a plank I think you had to hold it for a whole minute just to be in the, like 70 percentile or something like that. Like that wasn't even
I think it was like 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like a 2-minute plank for somebody with gravel in his lower back was that. I mean, it was that's not testing your fitness. It's just torture at that point.
Dude, it sucks so bad. I remember when I was first starting to do the ACFT, I was holding a plank and I'm like, dude, I'm doing great. I'm crushing this. I'm doing solid.
And they're like, dude, it's been 10
5 minutes and it's like 30 seconds have elapsed. I'm not gonna lie to you, dude. That was crushing my soul. It hurt. Yeah. It hurt so bad. I was like, fuck, I can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
Fuck that. But I think it's interesting how the fitness test has evolved throughout the years. And I wanted to show you guys something. Mainly Dan, just to show you a little clip of how soldiers are starting to prepare for the ACFT. And all right, can you guys see this?
Okay.
Yes.
All right. This is
Spirit Drag Carry?
Sprint Drag Carry from the one and only.
No. That's the Spirit Drag Carry.
That is
the Spirit. The Spirit's drag.
That is the Spirit Drag Carry from
That's
the one
funny.
and only Specialist Kearns. Let's just go ahead and watch this real quick. Dan, I want to introduce you to Specialist Kearns.
Man, that's the tip of the spear right there.
All right.
Oh, we don't get to watch him drag? Only spirits?
You want to watch him drag the spirit?
Come on, that's big country right there, boy.
That boy can move. So that is just a quick taste of Specialist Kearns. Now, I will preface it with saying this, not even preface it because you already saw him. He knows what he does is a little cringy. He knows it. He's addressed it. He understands it. Best part is he's in the National Guard here in North Carolina. I am not going to lie to you. I was so for Specialist Kearns. I was like, fuck yeah, dude. Love this kid. But then he started doing some cringy shit, and now I'm like on the fence about him. He knows he's cringy. He's like, I'm just trying to do the best I can. But that's fine. Dan, just give me your thoughts real quick.
The North Carolina National Guard has not draped itself in glory with that one. He would not be eligible for the retention bonus for physical fitness.
Fact.
He would. Did you not see him run? It looked like he was running into a beach, but he was on dry land.
No.
He looked like Super Mario when he was running.
He needed to throw in some spirit fingers, and he would be auditioning for a jazz team squad or something.
So you're not a fan.
I'm not. And based on what little bit we saw, he has not been properly instructed on how to conduct himself during the test.
Well,
his leadership has failed him in more ways than one.
Well, here's
and by
the
more
thing,
ways than one, I mean everything since enlistment.
Well, here's the thing, Dan. And again, I don't know much about this kid. This kind of, maybe I'm getting ahead of you, Leo, but this gets to the whole social media, I'm going to use the word ironically, influencer culture. How do we know that that is not a persona that he's putting on when he runs that way? Do you really think he runs that way on purpose?
Yes.
Or is that his natural gait? Because if he's doing that on purpose, he's doing it for clicks, which again is most likely what he seeks. So,
I will say, I do think that's how he runs.
Okay.
That's just me. Because I don't know how tall he is, but he's a big country boy, right? He's big country boy from North Carolina, probably from the backwoods somewhere, right? Which is fine.
He's from Gastonia. I don't know that. I'm just guessing.
Don't fact check that.
That's how people from Gastonia run. That's some inside North Carolina humor. Okay. All right.
Listen, Specialist Kearns has gotten shit on for a long time, and rightfully so. I'm not going to say it's not merited because it obviously is. And I'm not going to shit on him more than I already have. I will say I do think that's how he runs, but
okay.
I think it's a little cringy and weird because there's also other videos of him, mind you, he's in the National Guard, having lunch in uniform at a hibachi spot or at a sushi spot. Listen, you're in the National Guard. You're probably not going to lunch there's no reason why you should be going to lunch in your uniform if you're in the National Guard. You're probably just doing it because you like to wear the uniform. Great. Got it. There's no reason you should be doing that. That's just me. But you do bring up a good point of the Army influencer dynamic that he's trying to cultivate, which is fine. You know, everybody wants to try to get their niche. Everybody wants to try to get the bite of the apple. But brings me to another point of, well, we can either talk about how the Army is actually using social media, actually using social media influencers, or, and this is one thing that I do disagree on, is active duty service members voicing their disdain for either the current administration or their policies or things that are going on about it.
I think that active duty service members are active service members, whether they are active duty, National Guard, or Reserve. I find the whole thing gross. It's a collapse of professionalism within the service when it comes to 90% of the stuff that these influencers put out there. I think they're exploiting the uniform for clickbait, and I think it's gross. As far as service members using their social media to openly criticize the administration, if you are critiquing a policy, that is one thing. If you have a well thought out and well reasoned argument and you are critiquing a specific policy, that is one thing. If you are just raging against your commander in chief, whoever it may be, or maybe your division commander, or even your squad leader or platoon leader, that is treasonous. Maybe that's too harsh a word, but no,
I
you
mean, it's
swore an oath to
insubordination.
defend the Constitution and everything after. So that's your boss. That's your boss's 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 boss,
Yeah.
or whoever it may be.
Yeah.
If you want to critique a policy, that's one thing. I don't like the new hair regulations. This is why, from my perspective, A, B, C, D, E, whatever. I think the change to physical fitness standards is wrong for A, B, C, D, E, whatever. Go ahead, lay out your argument in good faith, and that's fine. Critiquing a policy is fine. But when you're just raging against a specific individual for no other reason than you've been told to me, that's treasonous.
Roger, what about you?
Yeah, the Department of War has got to figure out how to reconcile, the information age and the, OPSEC notwithstanding. I mean, there are a few things here that are totally off the table. Like it doesn't, if you're violating OPSEC, like you get zero recourse as far as I'm concerned on that, like boom. So I'm talking more about maybe some borderline insubordination stuff like Dan was mentioning, where you have a problem here or there. The Department of War needs to figure out how to reconcile this, because the toothpaste is out of the tube on this. Like it's not going to get easier. And so having some real clear guidance on that, and they may need to loosen up in a few areas and tighten up in a few others. But I mean, we're here. The brave new world is here. So yeah, insubordination and OPSEC are off the table. Everything else, like they might need to loosen up on some stuff. The days of, hey, if you have a problem with this particular policy, write a white paper about it. Maybe it'll get published in the whatever Small Wars Journal or whatever. Like those days are, they're not totally over. Like that's still a thing, but that's mostly on its way out now, because it's the social media and the social networking age now. Love it or hate it.
Yeah, and so I think Roger, I think you said something very interesting. We live in the information age, and I do think that we are overwhelmed with information on any given subject. But sometimes you might have a bias, and you might be looking for sources that just prove your point, right?
The confirmation bias.
It's a confirmation bias. You got it. Okay. And I think that is hurting a lot of people, and that they're like, I don't like this current administration, whatever it might be. I'm going to voice my opinions on it. 100% do not agree with that, because of the fact that you're an active service member, you're in uniform, whether you're in the reserves, active duty, guard, whatever it might be. If you're, in my opinion, if you're wearing a uniform, you literally you can talk about, I mean, it's okay to talk about those things. Definitely don't think you should be doing it in uniform just to garner more attention, because it makes you seem as you're speaking for the entirety of the Department of War, the Department of Defense, whatever it might be. But again, you bring up another point, right? You in the oath, swear you swear to uphold, what is it? Uphold
Support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Exactly.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and to bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and to support or to follow the orders of the President of the United States and the officers appointed over me.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is insubordination if you're saying this is not right because of this and this. I don't think it's right to voice your opinions based on a certain administration or the government if you're in uniform, and saying the government shouldn't be doing this or the administration is doing this. Honestly, you got to shut the fuck up, because you're going to get in a lot of fucking trouble. That's just me, right? One, you shouldn't be doing that. Two, if you're like, fuck, I want to voice my opinions, I have the right to it. Yes, you do. However, you're wearing the uniform, probably shouldn't fucking be doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people might have some problems with that.
Don't voice your opinion while you're in uniform. As a general principle, I think most of the time it's clickbait. You know what you're doing, and it's gross, so stop. Two, you are not the voice of every service member in your branch or in the military as a whole, so take the uniform off and give your opinion as a private citizen, because that's fine.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, because by not disclosing that if you're in the Army or Marines, whatever, if you're not part of the armed services, then you are saying, oh, I'm here as an individual. I'm not here representing the U.S. or the U.S.
Yeah.
government or the U.S. military. I think that's very different. I do think that's acceptable. However, I do think that when you put on the uniform, you are thinking that you are that you are representing that branch or that uniform that speaks for a broader audience, and I don't think that's right at all. And I think a lot of people are fucking their careers up by doing that. And now we live in an age where a lot of things are just like, I thought this was right. However, the regulation says this. You swore an oath, probably should be doing all that shit, right? And so a lot of soldiers, a lot of new service members are being brought up without too much resilience. So how would you guys go about that? And what do you think is the way forward in terms of trying to patch this up? I said a mouthful there, and I can clear it up if you guys want me to.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Is this specifically in regards to social media, or do you mean more generically just building resistance?
That was just me.
I just don't know how we got from pooping in the woods to the here, but it's been a journey.
Well, it's been 30 minutes, so it's about time.
I was just trying, to go along with the topics. And with the last one, I was talking about active duty, uniform, and all that stuff. And then I introduced the resilience without resistance. And then that was just kind of my way of just slowly and smoothly transitioning it into our next topic. But you know what, Roger? I'll just go fuck myself. Thanks for really breaking the fourth wall there.
Oh, man. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
I mean, I'll take a swing here. You can't build toughness and resilience without resistance, because, I mean, to use, the metaphor, if you're going to build muscle, you have to do it by tearing those muscle fibers down. And you do that by doing stuff that hurts and that is uncomfortable. You'd rather be eating a milkshake on the couch playing Halo back at the house, but instead you're in a hot gym with a bunch of smelly dudes and you're tearing those muscle fibers down in order to build something back up. I mean, it's a great metaphor for what we're talking about here, which is a little more abstract. One of the concerns I have about this, and every generation says this, right? But one of the concerns I have about this new generation of soldier coming in is a lot of them didn't have the types of childhoods that we had. They didn't stay out, late on their bikes in the summers. They weren't out rolling around in the dirt. They weren't playing rec football. They weren't drinking out of the hose. There's some cliches in there too, but they weren't doing a lot of those things because, back in the information age, right? They grew up in a near sterile environment where they were playing on their glowing screens for entertainment, and they had their organic soy products fed to them while they were on their screens. And the thing is, this isn't an indictment of the kids. It's the adults that are doing this stuff to the kids, but they're not having the same types of childhoods that we had. They're not necessarily getting exposed to some of the same pathogens and things that we did. There's and don't even get me started on the food with all the peanut allergies and all that stuff. They've been messing with our food for a long time, which is a whole other discussion. A lot of the young people that are joining up now aren't as resistant as generations past. And this isn't just, old man telling kids to get off the lawn. I think there's empirical data that can prove a lot of this. I don't know how we bridge this. Well, I was a staff officer at TRADOC for my last gig in the Army before I retired. And I was sitting in the room when all the Army recruiting command people were sitting around talking about this stuff and, about the recruiting numbers. And, I'm a couple years out of date on this, but it's not too far off. And we've actually improved a lot of this in the last few years. But the, recruiting pool from the United States, I think, young people from 18 to 24 is kind of, that's prime territory right there for military recruiters. And Army is what I know best, so I'll talk about the Army. From that age cohort of 18 to 24-year-old Americans, about 3/4 of them are completely off the table as far as recruiting is concerned because of a lot of the medications that they're on, a lot of bone density issues, health issues, allergies, asthma, all of these autoimmune issues. About 3/4 of that age cohort are untouchable. Like we can't, so the recruiting pool just got that much smaller. So we've got a problem. So remember, when America is looking at the Department of War or the military and saying, hey, how come so many kids are failing out of basic training? Hey, how come the quality of the soldiers aren't as good? Blah, 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 blah. America, take a look in the mirror, because all the military all the Army is a reflection of the public that it serves. So that's kind of my opening rant. If Dan, you want to jump off that.
I blame Al Gore's internet.
Yeah. Man, bear, pig.
Man, bear, pig. Guys, it's a serious problem.
Super cereal.
No, going back to the resilience without resistance, you can't do that. You can't build somebody tough physically or mentally without pushing them in some way, shape, or form. Roger's right. It's something about 70% of 18 to 20, I think it's 22 or 23 year olds is physically unable to serve just right off the bat, because either they're obese or they have health issues that disbar them, or they have mental health issues that disbar them, or, they've been on, whatever behavioral modification medication for, X amount of years because mommy and daddy couldn't handle them being so energetic, whatever the case is, they're off the table immediately. An entire generation of kids who were given participation trophies just for showing up are now having kids of their own, and those kids can't serve. They just can't.
Yeah,
physically and mentally, they can't. Their parents weren't pushed. They were told good job just for showing up to the practice field with, cleats and a t-shirt on. The parents didn't know what adversity was. Their kids the kids don't know either. Roger's right. It does go for the parents, or come from the parents.
I like to ask this question to a lot of people. How do you build resilience without resistance? And I do think it's an interesting question because of the fact that at least, I can only speak on my experience, right? I can only speak on my experience in the Army and what I saw through that lens, right? There was a lot of resilience because there was no other choice. Whether it's training scenarios or deployments, sure, you could just kind of phone it in and just say, I just can't be here anymore. But it just didn't feel right to do that. Right. So you didn't really have any choice but to be resilient and just to work around it. Right. And a lot of people think resilience is, just how fast you can bounce back from stressful or traumatic situations. It's not how fast, it's just how you kind of go about it, right? And it's just how to come out better. And the reason why I ask this is because now there's a new generation of soldiers coming in, and those generation of soldiers are living in the new army, right? They're living in the new army where you can't really smoke people. You can't, do a lot of things that you could before. You know, I'm gonna just go ahead and say hazing because, hazing builds camaraderie, but everybody has fun. Sometimes it's a tradition. Sometimes it gets out of hand. I will say yes. Sometimes it gets out of hand, but you kind of feel like one of the team, right? But on top of that, there's nothing like shared trauma that binds people together, right?
Trauma bonding.
But now we don't have that because now we're not in we haven't been in a conflict for so long. So some of those standards and some of those expectations just kind of like start to go out the window, right? And now you have an example is on TikTok, there was some captain who tried to counsel her soldier live on TikTok, which was wild as fuck. Right. So it's like, okay, so it's not when I talk about resilience without
If that were my
resilience.
battalion, I would counsel her on TikTok immediately after that.
But when we talk about resilience without resilience without resistance, it's not just applying to the junior enlisted. It's also applying to those people who are probably going to be battalion commanders and majors later on that they have no idea what the fuck is going on, right? And so it is a hard question to come up with an answer with or for. Honestly, I think it's just situational.
The military has always been a great place for social experimentation. Trauma bonding is great for building resilience. It really is. And it doesn't have to come from hazing. And there's a difference between hazing and abuse. Just a little side rant there. Hazing can be as simple as the new guy gets the coffee every morning, but I didn't do anything.
Well, you're the new guy. Something that doesn't really harm anybody, right?
That's hazing.
Yeah.
People think hazing and they think abuse, but that's not what it is. Before and even during the first few years of the GWAT, we would go on training cycles and you would go out to the field for 3 weeks. You had a week of blue 4, a week of red 4, and a week of support as the white 4, or, whatever your nomenclature was. And you went out to the field for 3 weeks and you didn't come back. There were no cell phones. You weren't calling home to your wife on FaceTime all the time. And this isn't a technology thing, but as the wars picked up and the deployment cycles got longer and more frequent, the training cycles were broken down. So you were out in the field from Monday afternoon to Thursday afternoon, whatever it was. Then you'd come home from the weekend and then you'd go back out on Tuesday afternoon to Friday afternoon, or whatever it was. You were guaranteed a long weekend every month, a 3-day or a 4-day. Those long training cycles built resilience because it was 3 weeks. There was no end in sight. And now it's, well, I'm going to FaceTime my wife because I'm eating my MRE lunch. I just saw her a few hours ago kissing me out the door.
I think a good way to say what you're trying to say is, from what I'm understanding, is those long training cycles helped build resilience because it got people away from creature comforts.
Yes, all the distractions, all the creature comforts, and I understood why we lessened those because of op tempo. Totally got it. You want to maximize family time, but that's over. It's been over. You need to start breaking these service members down again so that you can build them back up into the professional force that we need, that we're going to need for a long time to come. So,
yeah, because I've seen some soldiers just acting up on social media and with the caption of like, "We are not winning World War III." And although while it might be funny, it is funny at the same time. There's just a sprinkle of doubt in there, and I'm like, "Fuck, dude, they might be right." Holy shit!
Just remember that the veterans that came home from Europe and after World War I all thought like, "Oh, this generation of kids are all a bunch of little butter soft turds," and they were the ones that ended up on Omaha Beach. So
yeah.
Every generation says that about the next generation of service members. Oh, back in my day, and that's not what I'm saying. There are ways to toughen the force without being ridiculous,
without being a dick about it.
Yeah, and training is one. Make the training challenging. Take away some of those creature comforts.
All the years I was in the Army, I never minded tough training. I actually liked it for a myriad of reasons, but one of the main ones was because if you're going to take away my time, make it worth my time.
Yeah.
Because you'll run into people who are like, I'd rather have the soft training just because, I just want to get through this so I can go home to the next thing, which, I get it. If we're going to be out here for, like Dan said, if we're going to be out here for 3 weeks, let's make it worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing that sucks about it is that it is very much like the Army, that they make you go somewhere, woods, whatever it might be, and there's I don't want to say 3/4 or half the time, but you spend a good amount of time just saying, "All right, what are we waiting on?" And everybody's like, "I don't fucking."
Oh yeah, the hurry up and wait. Yeah.
The hurry up and wait never fails, and it prepares you for life. Honestly,
we could go on and on about this. But I mean, as a young soldier, the military budget, when it came down to the unit level, for me was very small. We would go out to the field for a few weeks, for whatever training cycle, and we would have one magazine of blanks to last us 3 weeks. And then we were literally yelling bang bang at each other in the woods.
Like our OTC.
It did not change the fact that we were out there. We weren't doing all this mandatory online training where nobody can do anything. Nobody's going home until everybody is 100% on their cyber awareness training. Things like that.
Accident avoidance.
Yeah. I mean, is that really what's important right now?
Yeah.
What happened to taking your soldiers to the local training area and just doing some hip pocket training? That's not done anymore because you can't leave the company or platoon area because everybody's got to be 100% on their, whatever mandatory online training they've got to do.
I think the winding down of global conflicts has given way to a bunch of I don't want to say meaningless, but just redundant tasks. I understand the fundamentals of why cyber awareness is important, of why AT level 1, AT level 2 is important, right? I understand the fundamentals of why they are important. However, again, the Army, I mean, at least in my experience, the Army famously loves to prioritize everything, and nothing's a priority until it's a problem, right? So everything's a priority. Okay, fucking AT level 1's not good. You're fine, don't worry. But then all of a sudden, everybody's got to do AT level 1, and
nobody can take leave until they do it.
Yeah, and there's one computer. You know what? No, there's 3 computers spread out through a whole company. One company's in the motor pool, and then the other one's over there, and everybody's fucking, everybody's hammering it out. Like, nobody cares until it's a problem.
And you can't hot guard your CAC either, so yeah.
It fucking sucks, dude. But I mean, I think I think the drawing down of global conflict gave way to things like that to just kind of keep us busy. And like I said, again, I understand the importance of it. However, I think we place too much importance on those things in order to be fully mission capable. But then again, that is also just kind of the evolution of the battlefield, right? It's kind of how things go. And when we talk about evolution of the battlefield, right, we can talk about, like, when we talk about evolution of the battlefield, it can be the actual battlefield, which is, drone warfare that's coming up nowadays. That's really just kind of changing the game to something as medial as making all the red blocks green just so we can go to the range.
The battlefield is always going to be changing. Always going to be changing from the way we train to the way we handle, new technologies or new tactics on the actual battlefield itself, the way we handle injuries and recovering from injuries, physical and mental. It's constantly going to be evolving. I mean, when the first gas warfare was used, I mean, what do you think people were thinking? Oh my God, the air is killing me. Yeah. What am I supposed to do about this? The same thing's applicable to the drone warfare. We will figure it out. I hope that we're the first ones that figure it out. I don't know if it's going to be some sort of, man-pack carried EMP, some sort of electromagnetic pulse that you can just knock something out of the air as soon as it gets within, 100 meters of you because you're carrying around a little man-pack.
That'd be cool. Just like a jammer that they have on the Max Pros and all that stuff, but just in a rucksack. That'd be sweet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but this one wouldn't cause, testicular cancer or whatever.
I mean, ideally, yeah.
Not in us and them, who cares?
Yeah. Yeah. Humans we're very adaptive. We adapt to problems. We're terrible at actually, like, and this is by and large, not individually, but by and large, we are terrible at foreshadowing, at foreseeing problems coming down the road. But once the problem does come down the road, we are terrific at adapting to it. Whether it's, the invention of the bow or recognizing that PTSD does not just need a good old pat and slap in the face to make it go away. We're good at adapting to problems. And I think we'll figure it out. I think we'll figure it out. Well, maybe not that clown from the North Carolina National Guard, but the rest of us will figure it out.
Big country.
Shout out to Specialist Kearns, man. That guy's awesome, man.
We'll figure it out, but the rest of us
E4 Mafia. Yeah.
Well, yeah, we really need to get him to figure out how to run. We need to get him to keep those ankles down because Jesus Christ, that looked like he was. To me, it looked like he was doing a tire obstacle course with just nothing in front of him.
He looked a couple of jazz hands away from Tim Walz. That's what he looked like.
We can say that now because we're not in uniform. That's fine.
And thankfully, he's not in charge of anything near me. So
we're far from all that good stuff.
Well, he is stewarding your tax dollars, so
yeah, that is a whole different topic. But we're getting ready to wrap things up. Dan, Roger, thank you so much for coming on the show. There was one thing that I always like to ask people before we head out, and I always like to ask people through your experiences in the military. You guys did 23 years and 20 years, which is incredible. I wish I could have done 20 years. If you could, for some reason, go back and start all over and change everything, would you do it? Would you change anything?
Is this the question we ask all of our guys?
I think he stole our question.
That sounds goddamn lie.
He rephrased it a little bit. He rephrased it a little bit and said, would you change anything? The tempting answer is to say, yes, I would change this, that, and the other, but, it's the butterfly effect, right? I think if you're happy with where you are now, that's what matters. And I've had to, and we've all had to go through some horrible, horrible things to get to where we are now. I'm contented where I am, so I wouldn't change anything, even though the journey to get here was less than peachy.
Roger, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I co-sign with Dan. I learned a lot of stuff along the way, and I made some very poor judgments in my younger years, and I frankly can't believe I'm still alive on a couple of counts.
Not without lack of trying.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. So yeah, I learned a lot along the way, as we all have. Would I change anything? No, I mean, I really wouldn't. I was an interesting case. Dan's heard me talk about this before, but I did ROTC, so I didn't enlist, and I was a walk-on scholarship, so I didn't even have it right coming out of high school. So when I signed the paperwork for my 4-year scholarship in March of 2000, from that point until the time I commissioned in the summer of 2004, we'd started, 9/11 happened, the Afghanistan happened and Iraq happened. So like it was a very, very different world from the time I signed on that dotted line to the time I actually showed up. And then, you know, from the time I commissioned, fast forward about 8 months, I'm sitting on an OP in Eastern Afghanistan doing, you know, Overwatch on the, you know, basically Pakistani border. And like life comes at you real fast sometimes, man. So, you know, I'm not gonna lie, there were a few moments, especially in the first half of that deployment, where I was really questioning the series of choices that had led to my circumstances. But you learn from it, try to make yourself better each and every day. Thank God each and every day, and nobody's guaranteed anything in this life.
Yeah, I mean, I think you really hit the nail on the head there, where you know you make some questionable decisions, and I think the consensus among a lot of vets, when you know if you get asked, you know, are you happy with where you are? Would you change anything and all that stuff? I'm not gonna lie to you, my answer would always be, I didn't even think I'd live this fucking far.
Yeah.
I didn't even think I'd get here. So
Yeah.
every day is just kind of like a guessing game at this point. You know, I didn't plan to live this long.
That is 100% true. I certainly didn't think I was going to make it back from my second tour in Afghanistan.
No,
let alone subsequent years. But
yeah, Dan and I have talked about this a lot, how we just consider it all basically bonus time.
Yeah.
Pretty much. That's kind of how I see
innings.
It. Yeah. It's extra innings.
We're in the extra innings here, or double overtime, or I know Roger's a huge football fan, so it's stoppage time.
Oh yes, I love ties.
You say foosball?
Football.
Yes. Stoppage. Yes.
I love long games where nothing happens and they end in ties. I'm a huge fan of this.
Roger's really just a fan of all the sweaty men and the cardio.
I don't see any downsides.
He's just a fan of, I know he loves football, but everybody that likes football just secretly likes when the teams get together and tell secrets. That's all they like. I'm not going to lie to you.
It's true.
That's what it is.
What's not to like?
The teams get together, tell their secrets. They throw a ball. A bunch of dudes touch on each other. We know what you like.
It's very European.
Dan, Roger, that's going to be it for us today. Please roll out any plugs that you guys got going on.
Yeah, sure. So Tracer Burnout, we're the green circle. We're not hard to find. So we're on all the social medias, and we're on YouTube, we're on Rumble, we're on all the social media except TikTok, because we don't like Chinese spyware. We only like good old fashioned homegrown American spyware.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. We talk about individual stories of service, from why they joined the service they did, if they have a family tradition of it, all the action and adventure along the way. It's not war stories with Dan and Raj.
Sometimes it is.
Sometimes it is. It doesn't matter what service it is or how long you served. Not everybody's service ends the way they want it to, just like you know well, Leo. And yeah, I'm not sure when this is going to be released, but we have our first Korean War veteran episode coming out soon.
Oh,
we got a Korean War vet out.
95 years old. He fought at Pork Chop Hill.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's going to be a good one.
Yep.
Man, I'm excited for that. I love history, so that one's pretty sweet.
Yep. That's our oldest one to date. We've had a few Vietnam vets. We've had a couple of Desert Storm and Grenada, Panama, those sorts of things. Obviously, a lot of GWAT vets. They're far more prevalent than everybody else, but
they're a dime a dozen. Yeah.
Yeah. Can't throw a rock down the street without hitting a GWAT vet these days.
You can't throw a rock in Southern Pines without hitting a GWAT vet.
It's true.
But our first Korean War vet, and they are getting fewer and fewer every day. So yeah, we would love to talk to a World War II veteran. They, of course, are even more rare. The last Pearl Harbor, or the last Arizona survivor, I believe, just passed away.
Damn.
Every 6 months I see one of those. Every 6 months I see a story saying that. So I don't know if it's true.
The last RAF, Royal Air Force pilot from the Battle of Britain, just passed away January, I think. So those World War II vets are almost a distant memory. So if anybody knows one, we'd love to talk to one.
Yeah, Dan and Roger, thank you so much for coming on today. It's been a pleasure talking to you. It's been an honor talking to you. It's been an honor and a pleasure talking to you. Yes, just like we talked about when I was on your episode. You hear that? It's been a pleasure.
Not just that, but it was an honor too.
Yeah, I remember saying that, and Dan was like, "You hear that, Roger? It's been a pleasure being with us."
Wow. I'm really glad you both got to see me today.
Thank you guys for coming on. And that's going to do it for us here at the Wet Boots Podcast. Again, thank you guys for coming on. My name is Leo with the Wet Boots Podcast, reminding everyone that sometimes you have no other choice than to keep going in wet boots. We'll see you next time.